Hey, whether you're buying or selling a franchise right now, you're going to want to stick around to hear some of what I've got to say.
This is the Franchise Pitfalls and Profit Show. Each week, we bring you the challenges and triumphs of being in the franchise development and consulting business. The things you need to make money faster. And now your host, one of the most successful franchise developers in North America, Don Shin.
Hey, welcome. Whether you're buying or you're selling a franchise, I'm just so strongly have to recommend you need to educate yourself. You need to be on the buyer side, you need to become a really knowledgeable, educated consumer of what you are going to get into in your career. It's probably the second or third largest decision you'll ever make. Rarely the first, but it definitely is the second or third largest decision you'll ever make. And so why go into something like that without knowing more about how to do it? And for those of you on the selling side of franchising, when is the last time you ever took any franchise sales or franchise development professional training? And I don't mean going to a conference. Yeah, you get some of that, but you're kind of forced to do those, aren't you? What are you going to do? So I'll go to this session. But at the end of the day, when did you deliberately really go get some training or go get some help? So that's what we want to talk about. So first one, I'm going to talk first of all on the selling side. If you're a franchise development person, if you're a broker consultant, maybe you're the founder, you're the creator of a franchise concept, and you've got an emerging brand that you're doing the franchise development, the franchise sales yourself. So let's start there. And I'm going to focus first on the emerging brand. You're a franchisor, and now you've gone through all the legals. You've got an ops manual. Hopefully, you've got some type of a marketing franchise development plan. But what do you know about how to sell a franchise? Did you realize that franchise sales is really more recruiting? It's more evaluating. It's more assessing the person that you're talking to, and are they a good fit for your franchise concept? Do they have the transferable skills that they'll need? Yes, in franchising, it's one of the great opportunities to change careers. If you're the buyer, to change careers, to get into the kind of business you've always wanted to, but you don't really have the background. You didn't go to college for that. So franchising allows you to do that. And as an emerging brand franchisor, you're going to get people like that. But do they have fundamental skill sets that going to transfer well? You can certainly train them in a lot of different things, but your best franchise candidates are going to have some of the fundamentals. They maybe have never done your business. They've not been in your industry before, but there are skill sets. You need to decide what those things are. And then in your recruiting process, you need to be looking for those types of things, because you're going to get a much stronger candidate if they come with no industry experience, but they come with the right stuff. They come with the right skill sets to be successful in your business. Again, I call those transferable skills. Do you know what they are, Mr. Seller, Mrs. Seller, franchise emerging brand franchisor? And do you have a process that looks for them? The next thing I would say without training is, how long are you going to wait? How much time is it going to take you, trial and error, you doing it yourself, in order to not get your first sale? Because some franchisors, emerging brands, they have their first sale or two almost right away, because the person that told them, oh, you've got a great idea, you ought to franchise this, John, Sally, I would love to be your first franchisee. Chances are they're not the right people, quite frankly. That's been my experience every time I see that. However, very importantly is how long, how many months, how many years until you see enough scenarios, you go through enough leads, you burn through enough sales, potential sales, to get consistent in awarding and recruiting and awarding your franchises. Uh, do you have the capital? Are you capitalized enough to wait a year, to wait 18 months, to wait 2 years before you get it and you start to consistently begin to place franchisees to be recruiting and assessing and then awarding franchises? How long are you willing to go? How long is it going to take you? Whenever a franchise training program, potentially someone who can advise you or coach you might be able to, not might, will be, if you get the right people, will be able to help you not just get through to that first sale if you haven't already made it, but get you consistently hitting your recruiting targets. I'm going to shift now, staying on the selling side, but I'm going to shift to broker consultants. And while I'm doing this, by the way, for the selling side, I'm going to show you, I'm going to scroll you some free resources and some training and some tips that you can start to get better at what you're doing. So watch for the scrolling, jot this information down because it's going to be a step toward your getting better at recruiting. So brokers, yes, you've got initial training, although candidly, I think a lot of the initial training in the marketplace hasn't been changed in probably 20 years, significantly changed. So, but have you ever set up a business before? Have you ever worked on your own? There's so many corporate refugees, people that have been downsized, or people that maybe retired early for whatever reason, and they would love to get into the broker consulting business because it's so fulfilling and you can make such a difference in people's lives. However, they've never worked on their own. They've never worked without structure. They've never had to go somewhere where even if you were the president of a company where your virtual assistant or your executive assistant knew where you were, you've never worked in those kinds of structures. So how long is it going to take you to get set up? Where do you start? Does this training that you got really help you start properly? Candidly, and the consultants and the brokers I've talked to over the last year or two, it doesn't. They're really floundering even when they come right out of their week's worth of training. So and how long? Most of the consultants and brokers I speak to that didn't get a good start, they really couldn't afford to go 6 or 9 or 12 months before they had to go back and look for a job. So how long can you go? And honestly, in this field, the broker, the consulting space, since I own a consulting company, a boutique broker consulting company, I know, quite frankly, how long it should take you to get your initial placement. And candidly, it shouldn't take you 6 months. It definitely should never take you as long as a year. And yet I talk to so many people in this field that have actually gone 10 months, 12 months, 15 months without making a placement. So can you really afford to not make those sales versus what the investment might be for you to get additional support? So again, selling side, emerging brand franchisors, broker consultants, what are you doing to get the kind of results that you want to get? If you're not getting them now, what are you going to do differently? And being at the beginning of a new year, it's a great time to reflect from that standpoint. All right, now I'm going to shift gears on you, and I want to talk to those of you who are looking at buying a franchise. So one of the critical things is that one of the things that will hold you back from stepping out and considering going after your dreams, going after the family life and the lifestyle that you want, going after the generational wealth that you really desire. going after that comfort and the security of business ownership that you've realized in during the pandemic for the last 2 or 3 years that you didn't have it where you worked. One of the things that is clearly going to hold you back is a lack of knowledge. So again, I encourage you to go look for resources, genuine resources, and I'm going to share one of them here for you before we end the call. But go look for genuine resources that can really help you. Don't, the articles are fine, and here or there are some YouTube videos for 10 or 15 minutes, but go get yourself some serious knowledge and some serious education. Make the effort, because again, this is the second or third largest investment you'll ever make in your life. Why would you do it going in blindly or uneducated and without help? And that's my second thing that I wanted to share with you. Go get help. You most people go to a CPA to get their taxes done. You certainly, obviously, you go to a physician if you're not feeling well. While there's so much information on the internet, and there are, home remedies and self-care for some certain things, but generally speaking, if you're not feeling well, you're going to go to a physician. Um, if you have investment money, and you have kind of a portfolio of stocks or mutual funds, again, you go to a financial planner. If you have children, you go to an attorney for a will, and I can go on and on and on and on, and naming professionals that you go to now. So why would you go it alone with the largest investment, or the second or third largest investment that you'll ever make? So get some help, get some assistance. So lack of knowledge is going to hurt you and hold you back, and probably you won't even step out and try. Getting support, there are professionals out there, consultants and brokers that can help you along this way. And the biggest thing that's going on here, candidly, is fear. This is probably the thing that holds more people back than anything. And it hurts me so much. It's the most discouraging part of what I do. And I think and this is why I've got a company that does this, being a consultant, being a broker in the franchise world is one of the most rewarding careers that you can have, because you're, as the CEO of McDonald's said last year at a conference I attended, franchising is the on ramp to entrepreneurism and building generational wealth. And as a consultant, as a broker in franchising, we get to do that every day. And one of the most discouraging, or disappointing is a better word, one of the most disappointing parts of this profession is the fact that people allow their fears to hold them back from reaching for their dreams and from achieving their goals. And so again, if you're on the buying side of the franchising and start a business thought process, the antidote to fear is going to be what I shared with you just a minute ago: knowledge. The antidote to fear and holding you back from doing what you have dreamed about doing is going and getting some help, getting some guidance, again, getting some knowledge. So again, I wanted to share with you about whether you're on the buying side or whether you're on the selling side of franchising or stepping out into the world of business ownership. You want to be sure that you get educated. Thanks for being with me.